Hello, everyone, and welcome to 10-Minute Elections. Today is Monday, November 2nd, 2020. It is the day before the election, and I just wanted to show you guys some different election models, mainly regarding the presidential election, but also I want to talk about some senatorial races and whatnot briefly as well. Basically, just an election pregame, if you will. I know I'm excited for election day. I hope y'all are. And if you can vote, I know I've been pestering about y'all. I've been pestering y'all about this a lot in recent videos, but please do vote. And if you have not voted yet, know how and when you are going to vote and make sure you can do so safely. So pulled up here, I have the JHK forecast, and I really like JHK. I know I've been referencing it a lot in a lot of my videos because it uses very statistically reputable data to create mathematically accurate projections for different elections. So we can see for the 2020 election here, Joe Biden is being given a 90.3% chance to win the election, 349 electoral votes, and 53% of the popular vote. We can see how it has changed over time, as well as the breakdown of the race to 270 horizontally and the more traditional map over here. Also, and this is really interesting, this is where a lot of that mathematics comes into play. The red and blue for Biden and Trump respectively, that is the 80% confidence interval, meaning we can say with 80% confidence that their vote share will fall within this category. Look at Pennsylvania, and this is big because the 80% confidence intervals do not show any overlap. So with 80% confidence, we can say that Joe Biden will definitively receive more votes and in this exact blue area than Donald Trump in this red area. That doesn't mean Joe Biden has an 80% chance to win Pennsylvania. He actually has more than 80% chance because the 80% chance is A, Joe Biden wins, B, Joe Biden's vote share falls within this blue category here, and C, Donald Trump's vote share falls within this category here. The margin outside the 80% confidence interval could very well be extended. Joe Biden could be somewhere out here, Donald Trump could be somewhere over here. So there are a lot of ways this could play out with a Joe Biden victory, not necessarily both candidates in these 80% confidence intervals, but these 80% confidence intervals generally are correct. So I want to look at some of the percentages here because I've really been focusing on margins on my channel, but I want to look at statistical percentages for just a second to win states. So notice Georgia. 62% chance now for Joe Biden. This has changed since last month when Donald Trump was favored to win the state. On my electoral map, and I'll get to the 10-minute elections final projection in a sec. I know I said final last week, but this is final because there were just a couple of last-minute changes I made to my map. The biggest one was moving the state of Georgia from toss-up to tilt Democrat because there have been a lot of polls in the past week that have shown Joe Biden definitively ahead in Georgia. And every electoral map that I'm about to show you will forecast Joe Biden winning in Georgia. Just a lot of the electoral maps at this point are agreeing on that. So notice how Biden has a 62% chance to win Georgia. I mean, let's look at some other red states from 2016. Michigan, 95% chance, and these boxes mean it could be a tipping point state. Let's go back to Pennsylvania. I'm picking on Pennsylvania today. So this box over here means tipping point state. Essentially, the state that will get a candidate over that 270 threshold, the tipping point of the election. So Pennsylvania is being given a 55% chance to be the tipping point state, and Joe Biden is given a 90.5% chance to win it. Look how nicely that correlates with Joe Biden's 90.3% chance to win the entire election. These tipping point states really, their statistical probabilities can often determine the election because tipping point states all too often literally do determine the election. Arizona, 73% chance actually. Minnesota, 97. He's up to 94.5 in Wisconsin. Pennsylvania, 90.5. And New Hampshire, which Hillary Clinton barely eked out a victory in, 95.7. Let's look at some formerly competitive blue states that Joe Biden is really short of. Virginia. Here's one right here. Virginia. A lot of people were forecasting this one to go to Mitt Romney in 2012. For a good portion of the night in 2016, Donald Trump was leading the returns in Virginia before Hillary Clinton was eventually declared the winner. Joe Biden now has a 99% chance to win the state of Virginia, and this state should be pretty safe. Soon Let's Talk Elections is already forecasting it that way. New Mexico, 99.7% chance. Colorado, 99.2. Nevada actually only 91 because Nevada is very often a wild card. Nevada is generally a tough state to call. And then back to Arizona with 72. So let's look at the flip side of this. Safe or should be safe Republican states. Montana, Biden is being given a 7% chance to win. Alaska, 14% for Joe Biden. Texas, 35 used to actually be higher, but Joe Biden doesn't really need to win Texas, so there's not too much worry to him right now. Iowa, 44% chance, and Ohio, 42% chance. I know Let's Talk Elections actually has Iowa going to the vice president. So let's look at some margins here quickly. We can see here's the tipping point, Pennsylvania, JHK is projecting, and to the left of Pennsylvania, and this is also something that's really good to watch, because in 2016, in addition to, I mean, we can talk all day about, oh, this state went red, this state went blue, this state deviated from the polling data by this margin. But it's also very important to look at states relative to each other. Did this state vote left or right of this state? Did this state, how was the turnout? What were the polling numbers in this state's accuracy relative to the accuracy in this state? So in Pennsylvania, roughly a 6-point margin for the vice president. To the left of Pennsylvania, Nevada, Wisconsin. Wisconsin projected to go to the left of Pennsylvania. That is something that I disagree with in my projections, but just because of Wisconsin's more historically conservative voting record in the past few years, but a lot of polling data does seem to indicate that Joe Biden is shoring up a lot of the support he needs in Wisconsin to win by this kind of margin. I know 8 points is pretty drastic, but JHK uses very good data. Doesn't mean it's right, but it means its data is good. Michigan, and then Minnesota right to the left of Michigan. In 2016, Michigan and Minnesota deviated from each other by roughly 1.8 percentage points, I believe, and this is having them deviate by 0.9 percentage points, so not too big of a difference, but it's interesting to look at. New Hampshire, which just barely went for Hillary Clinton, so look at this. New Hampshire is now being projected to go to the left of Minnesota. It went right to the Minnesota in 2016, which shows Donald Trump's unpopularity in the state of New Hampshire, and then moving over into Virginia, Colorado, Maine, and New Mexico. This is where the safe states begin. Let's look in Donald Trump's column. We've got Iowa going for Trump by 0.7, Ohio by 0.9, so these are both tilt margins, and then Texas by 1.8. To the left of Texas is Alaska at 7. Notice how there's a big drop off after Texas. We've got Alaska, South Carolina, Montana, and this is another thing to point out. The expected deviation or potential deviation of states. South Carolina is JHK has going to Trump by 7.5 points. Montana, they have going by 7.6 points. But check this out. If we come to the map up here, South Carolina should theoretically be slightly more open for Joe Biden because Trump has less of a lead there. No, Joe Biden has a 4.2% chance to win South Carolina and a 7.1% chance to win Montana, despite JHK projecting him ultimately losing it by more. That's because Montana is a more difficult state to call. The polls generally aren't quite as accurate in Montana. We can expect more deviation in Montana, and that makes sense because of multiple factors. For Montana is big and has a lot of generally third-party or independent voters. So it makes it a much tougher state to call than the more conservative, although maybe not by as much of a decisive percentage, South Carolina. Okay, let's look at 538 here. 538 does their projection in sort of a snake figure. They don't do as much of a map, but notice how they, again, 538, and they're doing the percentages as well, although they have, the 538 does both percentages and margins. So they're projecting Georgia to go to Joe Biden by a lean margin. North Carolina also by a lean margin, nearly 2 points. And Ohio, they have Donald Trump winning by 0.3, and Texas, they have Donald Trump winning by 1.3, which makes it a very close, lean margin. 538 uses very good statistical data as well. JHK and 538 obviously very good, very thorough mathematical analyses of the election, but that doesn't mean they have to exactly line up. There are different polls, there are different standards for evaluating polls, and there are different standards for polls and polling. So we can expect some deviation even between very reputable pollsters and election forecasters just because of that. Iowa, for example, 538 has going to the president by 1.6. This is not really what we saw on JHK. Let's see what they have. Yeah, on JHK, they only have Iowa going to Donald Trump by point 0.7 points, and you can just expect that, and so ultimately, neither of these sides are necessarily right or wrong, although we can see on election day because certainly, some election forecasters are definitely more researched and more thorough in their data collection than others. So, but the important thing to note here is that JHK and 538 both have Pennsylvania as their tipping point state. And both actually have it going by a lean margin. This is sort of what prompted me to classify it this way. And watch this in Nebraska's second congressional district, heavy lean margin. And let's see, where is Maine's second district? Here it is. Maine's second district. Yeah, so 1.9 points for Joe Biden. Here, this is again very rural and very white, but Maine generally breaks the political rules. Let's head over to the real clear. Actually, I want to stay on 538 for one more second. They have Biden favored by 90 in 100, so 90% chance. Here the range essentially they simulate well they tell you in their own words. They simulated the election 40,000 times, and the sample of 100 elections below essentially gives you a good idea of the results. So like in the most extreme Joe Biden scenario, they have him winning Alabama, they have him winning Tennessee, and this probably isn't going they have him winning South Dakota, and this probably isn't going to happen, but it's interesting to see, especially the states relative to each other. I mean, look, Donald Trump is winning in Maine, but heck, Donald Trump is winning in Maine, but Joe Biden is winning in Missouri. I mean, what are we doing? This is just the deviation that we can potentially see as Joe Biden picks up 480 electoral votes, which would make it the biggest landslide since the Reagan Bush years. Uh, we look at a lot of elections in this set, and I mean, let's see. There aren't too many extreme outcomes. I know something to note is that in a lot of these, though, Joe Biden is winning Texas. Definitely a state. Here he stops winning Texas a little bit, although he is winning Georgia still. And now again, he's not winning Texas, but he's winning Georgia, not North Carolina. That's interesting to see. Winning Florida and Georgia, not North Carolina, and not New Hampshire either. It looks like getting closer and closer. This is the scenario where Donald Trump sweeps through the South, but Joe Biden reclaims the Rust Belt. And the best case scenario for Donald Trump, he picks up the entirety of the Rust Belt as well as New Hampshire and Maine from 2016. And hold on to Arizona, picks up Nevada as well. And oh no, Hawaii is below. Okay. So let's look at Real Clear Politics. I know this is the no toss ups map because Real Clear. Oh, no, this isn't the no toss ups map. I'm sorry. Uh, I will pull up the no toss ups map in a second, but this is you can see they really like to rate races as toss up, and so Biden Harris only has 216 electoral votes. Going over to the no toss ups map. Um, Okay, I suppose Real Clear Politics does not want to cooperate here, but they had Joe Biden winning roughly 340 electoral votes on this no toss-ups map, including Georgia, Florida, and North Carolina. Compare that to 538 giving him, let's see, how many electoral votes is 538 giving him? About the same, and JHK is giving him 349. Here is the Let's Talk Elections political map. Let's Talk Elections is the biggest elections YouTuber, and he has been forecasting pretty big Joe Biden victories up here in the Rust Belt. He does have Ohio going to Donald Trump, which I don't. I have Ohio remaining as a toss up. Georgia as a lean margin. Arizona's been a lean Democrat for a long time, and a lot of likely states here that I still have rated as safe. I rate Utah as safe. I rate South Dakota as safe. I rate Tennessee as safe. Let's Talk Elections does not, because it's really hard to say. There hasn't been too much polling data in those states because a lot of the big pollsters, I mean, they really don't care whether a state goes by 14 or 15 points. The thing is, folks like Let's Talk Elections and myself do because that's the line between safe and likely, and you got to put one on the map. So Let's Talk Elections is an interesting, not very well researched, very thorough. Here is my map. And you can see it's a little bit more Republican friendly. I know you saw a little bit more red pop up there, but it still goes decisively for Joe Biden. I mean, let's see. You see, and this is interesting. In the Let's Talk Elections map, Joe Biden wins just in this likely category because he is projecting Wisconsin as a likely state. I still have Wisconsin as a lean state, but a very generous lean by roughly 4.5 points, I would say. Part of the reason my map is a little bit more Republican friendly is because of some different polls. I know the Trafalgar Group, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they're a Republican polling organization that's done some interesting polls recently. Their polls aren't always accurate, but they have called some races that other pollsters got wrong, like the 2018 Florida gubernatorial election. Their polls, which generally aren't the best, were actually spot on there. So they used something called a social circle poll. So Joe Biden is up about 10 points in the national binary choice or either binary choice or just general election polls. He's up about 10 points. But when the Trafalgar Group asked the question, who um who do you believe the people in your social circle will vote for? And suddenly that was reduced just because of these shy Trump voters. We really don't know how much of a phenomenon they are, but that margin reduced to about 6 points for Joe Biden, which would still hand him the election decisively if 6 point, uh, judging by the expected 6 points breakdown between different states. But it's interesting to see that that margin does substantially narrow up from 10 to 6. So here is your final 10-minute elections presidential forecast just from the last time. Georgia's now a tilt Democratic and Nebraska's first district went from safe to likely Trump, just enough data to suggest that it would not go by 15 points. Senatorially, I know I just released my latest projection today. Actually, it's double upload day. How about it? So I have Democrats winning 52 seats, Donald Trump winning 47 seats, and toss up is one. And in the House, I have Pelosi winning decisively. Let's check out JHK's House forecast real quick. This has been pretty blue the whole time, as yeah, Democrats are up to 99.8% chance with 238 seats, meaning they would gain 3 from the 2018 midterms. Just looking at some key seats, Alaska and Montana still actually Montana's narrowed up a little bit. Democrats now being given a 37% chance to win. California's 25th. This is Mike Garcia's seat, formerly Katie Hill's. Democrats expected to win that one back. This one covers much of southern New Mexico. Here's the 24th district of Texas. That's an important one. The 11th district of New York, Democrats now projected to win. The 7th district of Georgia, Lucy McBath now projected to win decisively. And New Jersey, a lot of, Jeff Van Drew's district projected to go Democratic by a full lean margin. Okay, I know this has run a bit long, but thank y'all so much for bearing with me and watching not only just today, but this whole election season. And be sure to keep tuning in after the election for quality electoral analysis. It's been a real pleasure covering the run up to the 2020 election. Just once again, for one last time, please vote and know how you are going to vote if you are able to and have not already. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share with your friends if you enjoy these videos. I know I really enjoy making them. I hope you enjoy watching them just as much. And I will see y'all after Election Day.